I haven't spoken to my brother in 3 years. Now he needs my kidney or he'll die. I was 17 when the hospital called and told me that my brother would die if I didn't donate my kidney. I hadn't spoken to him in 3 years, and now I had to decide whether to donate and risk my dream of an athletic scholarship or let him die. Everything moved so fast after that call. My parents showed up at my school 2 days later and asked me to come home early. They explained that he'd been on a waiting list for months, but his condition was getting worse. I was the only family member who was a match, and I could save his life. They didn't pressure me exactly, but I could see it in their eyes. They wanted me to do this. My mom kept saying how grateful my brother was that I existed, and how he'd tried reaching out to me over the years. That part stung because I remembered those messages, and I remembered deleting most of them without responding. 3 years earlier, he stole $3,000 from our dad and blamed it on me. He needed the money for something stupid, and instead of asking our parents for help, he just took it. When our dad noticed it missing, my brother panicked and told our dad that I'd stolen it to pay for coaching fees. My dad believed him immediately and stopped speaking to me for months. By the time my parents divorced and my dad realized what actually happened, the damage was already done. My brother never corrected the story. He just let me suffer through years of my father thinking I was a criminal. Now my brother was sick, and apparently I was the only one who could save him. I felt like I was being asked to choose between my brother's life and my own future. I spent the next week talking to doctors and learning things I didn't want to know. The first doctor said that yes, most kidney donors live normal, healthy lives, and the surgery was relatively straightforward. I left that appointment feeling a little better, but then I met with the university's athletic medical team, and everything changed. They said my scholarship could be at risk if I went through with the donation, because high-impact sports would put too much stress on a single kidney. That night I called my coach and I told him everything without trying to sugarcoat it. He was quiet for a long time. Then he told me that if I donated, he couldn't guarantee the scholarship would stay in place. He said the program depends on me performing at peak level, and they couldn't risk an athlete with a compromised physical state. He told me to think long and hard about this decision because there was no coming back from it. 3 days before the surgery was scheduled, my dad drove me to the hospital to visit my brother. I hadn't seen him in years. He looked like a ghost of himself. He was pale and thin and hooked up to machines that made beeping sounds I couldn't get out of my head. When he saw me walk in, he started crying. He told me he was sorry for everything. Then he said the thing that broke me completely. He told me he understood if I didn't want to donate and he wouldn't hate me for it. He said he didn't want me to ruin my life for him, and he meant it. That's when I realized 3 years of anger and resentment had been sitting between us like a wall, and now he was on the other side of it dying. He was releasing me from any obligation, and somehow that made the weight even heavier. I called my parents into the room and told them I was doing it. My brother started sobbing and tried to say he didn't want me to sacrifice myself, but I told him that was exactly the point. I wasn't sacrificing anything that mattered as much as he did. 3 years of hating him had already cost me so much. Losing a scholarship felt small compared to losing the chance to actually know him again. The surgery happened 4 days later and it was a success, but the recovery was brutal. My body ached in ways I didn't know it could for weeks. The first month back at school was awful because my times were slower, and I could feel the difference in my body when I was running. My coach watched me like he was waiting for me to completely fall apart, but I didn't. I ran through the pain, and I managed to keep my scholarship. More importantly, my brother and I actually started building a real relationship.